thanks again. It's so exciting to have you here. So actually, you're really new to Axel Springer as the head of diversity and inclusion, like since July. How diverse, in your opinion, is the Axel Springer group at the moment, and where do you see your tasks and greatest challenges ahead?
So I'm not only new to the role, but also relatively new to the organization. I've joined Axel Springer in October last year. And indeed, I'm in the new role since July this year. And it's the first time we have such role as a company. And we are working on defining that role and establishing a strong position for it, as the idea behind is to have this overarching perspective on the entire Axel Springer group. And that's also one of the challenges we are facing. So we are not a one-product organization. We're not the one-product company. We are having several different brands, 7 different companies that belongs to the group in several different countries. And my role is an overarching role. So I'm not focused on Germany or any other specific country, but on a global perspective. So the biggest challenge, or the biggest challenges we can probably split between those back and front office, just to use the metaphor. So definitely finding the right approach to address the challenges across the entire organization and making sure that we are able to drive a sustainable change for entire group. It's one of the biggest challenges. On the other hand, let's call it the front office part, meaning also the topic-related challenges. That there are many, and who I am to say what's the most important, but definitely the focus on women representation in the top positions, but also looking at our process of becoming more international and being an organization with a strong German roots. We need to find the right way of balancing those two realities at the same time, and with the consideration for all our employees. That's also a big topic for us. But at the end of the day, I think what's essential for us is to change the narrative from one focus or one topic focus to more overarching perspective of diversity. We want to make sure that we are addressing different aspects of diversity, not only those that are visible or on the appearance level, but going beyond that and making sure that we are building a place, an organization where everyone feels they belong to.
So we see the, let's say, enhancement by having more and more women in media companies, like that works somehow. So, and you said that this is one of your goals as well. So is there another intersectional approach, so kind of achieving also having representing BPOC, so black people, people of color, people with different backgrounds than just the category of gender?
Yeah, so women, I don't like thinking about women as a minority because we are half of the society, but we talk about it in the backstage that in the leadership position, women are definitely a minority, and addressing that topic, it's important. On the other hand, I think when we want to address different aspects on this, or finding this balance between these different aspects, we really need to stay focused on the European context, right? Because you've mentioned black employees, people of color. This is all important, but we need to wear our local glasses when we do it, right? So we don't want to just copy paste and one size fit all approach, plugging in whatever works somewhere else. We need to make sure that we are addressing all those issues with the right mindset and the right perspective valid for us here in Europe.
So then in your role, thank you, then in your role, when you think of how you want to achieve that, is then an instrument, if we look at BBC in Great Britain, a quota, so how do we actually really reach a structural and cultural change within organizations, and specifically maybe within your organization?
Quota is the difficult topic. That's just a comment which is company or industry agnostic. It's just a tool. Quota is just a tool. And for sure, I can imagine Quota being a tool that will help us accelerate the change, but without a deeper structural change, as you've mentioned, the culture shift, it will go only as long as the quota is there. So having a quota forever, I'm not sure. So as a tool, it can be an option. We don't have a quota in the company. For us, essential is to drive the systemic change. So looking into our processes, looking into our structures, how can we adjust them to ensure the equity and equitable access to the positions, roles, and starting from there.
So if we dive deeper, then maybe you can tell us something about maybe a best practice or something that you see that would work by then achieving, like as you said, the cultural shift and the really deep change of organizations.
Again, I think there is no one size fits all. So you have to really look into your own organization to decide which practices you apply. Probably what's important and a huge chance for success in any or organization or any context, it's ensuring the right role modeling and having access to role models who are inspiring and willing to share mentoring programs, sponsorship. This is all something that works across different industries and across different type of organizations, right?
No, that's really interesting, and especially exciting to see what the future brings, right? Then, Sandra, I have a question regarding, when I think of diversity, maybe the first association would not be the Bild-Zeitung, right? So when we think of Bild-Zeitung and diversity, there's a lot of criticism for its portraits of migrants, of refugees, of people of color, black people, and especially regarding the crisis that we're currently in. Do you understand the criticism? Do you see the criticism? And how do you deal with this as head of diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, I do observe the market. I observe what's happening. And I get that question very often. And I believe that happens because not everyone understands the scope of my role and focus of my role. I think diversity and inclusion can be addressed on two different levels. One being internally focused and other being externally focused. My role is fully internally focused, so my target group are our employees and our environment in the company. Of course, the product part is important, and sometimes products decide to have a dedicated role for diversity and inclusion for the product. But in terms of Bild newspaper, we need to remember that editorial line, the tone of the newspaper, and the freedom of journalism, this is all sits with the management of the company, and my role is not embracing it. So this is the situation from my perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough then. Really interesting. So in the back office, we had a really interesting conversation about how we can also understand diversity. So when we again think of the current crisis we're in, and then the demonstrations that happened and still are happening, keywords are then Querdenker and Impfgegner, so the enemies of vacation. Yeah.
No, I hope we don't have enemies of vaccination, right?
Yeah, right. So is that something that you, within your work, or maybe even personally, think of when it comes to diversity? So opening up for a more constructive dialogue. Do we need to reach radical views as well in media branches, in newspapers? What is your stand on that, or your opinion on that?
I think different media addresses different target groups, and it's a freedom of choice which media you want to follow, right? What's important is to provide citizens and our users and audience with a reliable information, so they can make a choice on that, right? And I think those opinions are part of a bigger picture of diversity. What is important is to keep in mind the part on acceptance, empathy, and the key values that are behind, right? You might have this opinion, I have this opinion, as long as we are not hurting anyone.
Yeah, super interesting. And I think this debate is further going on because it's so important as we see the many views and the lack of empathy actually, or even maybe the right of lacking empathy for some views or not. This is like a discussion which is really interesting. Yeah, and like for me personally, it would be so interesting to know what is your personal motivation and maybe vision for your role as the head of diversity inclusion, which is like really rare, right, for media branches to have such a role or media companies.
So our vision is to build an organization when everyone feels they belong. So that's our vision. It sounds simple, it's short, but it's a long way to get there, and it's not a straightforward way. So we need to really look at this as a goal to achieve and finding different mechanisms, different tools to reach it. For me personally, diversity is something very important. Also considering my personal background and also my willingness to learn. So I'm a learner, and I know that I also have a lot of space for improvement in that field, and I really want to embrace that topic on my personal level. And it's a journey for me. It's a journey for me, and I like to share that journey with my colleagues, my coworkers, and become a better person.
And if you add your personal, this is beautiful, by the way, and I hope, like you stick to your motivation and have the power to continue to that. When you then add on your personal vision and motivation for what you're doing, is there like a recommendation for other media companies or like for the branch to the sector to strive forward and to be more open for diversity? As we also know, it's a huge economic factor, right? And there's it enhances agile project management and stuff. There are so many positive arguments for that. So is there like a thing you would a message to the world there?
Yeah, I think the key message is don't stop with diversity, because diversity is a fact. We observe it on every corner, and just stopping with diversity won't be enough, because we need to create an environment where those diverse perspectives, diverse groups, teams can really thrive. And that's why it's important to think about inclusion and making sure that you build those inclusive environments. You are having an inclusive leadership, empathetic leadership. Otherwise, there is also risk of backfire from that. So it's not about just hiring for diversity, but creating a right environment where those people can feel safe. This safety, psychological safety, it's very important, especially when we talk about creativity and innovation. Creating those environments and those spaces, it's going beyond having people of color or different nationalities in the team. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, nice. So keeping the broader picture in place and thinking of all the factors that are important for that message and for that goal that we hopefully will reach soon and further implement a more diverse and safe environment. So thank you very much for being here with us today and for your really interesting perspectives.